Welcome to the Best Man podcast, where me and Dave are going to talk about life events, social media, whatever rabbit hole we can find ourselves into. It's my best man, Dave. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? That's my best man, Joe.
Hell yeah.
That was good. Smooth. I like it.
Um,
We have a keeper.
yeah, we'll go with it. So, what have you been up to, man? Like, we talked last weekend, and kind of it's been a hectic week for me, so I haven't really been in contact with you much over the last week. So, what have you been up to, man?
I got back from that last gig. Was it Monday? I think we talked about that in the last pod, but it's been a lot of testing out new sounds in my drum studio. I've been trying to get a better mix, working on getting some new microphones, going down the path of asking a lot of my recording friends, whether it's a session drummer or an actual audio engineer, or even my main front of house guy. His name's Jeff, and he's awesome. He works for my main gig with Aaron Lewis, and he also works as Stain's front of house guy. He's just all around great dude, but also very smart, good at what he does. So I've been picking his brain on like what to get, and he's been giving me all kinds of advice on what kind of gear to get to record or whatever. Then I asked a couple of fellow studio owners in the Nashville area. They're also giving me some good ideas, but it's expensive, so I have to pace myself. So I just have to find the right mics that won't be too pricey and kind of space it out over time.
So, what
Um,
what are you battling right now?
I'm battling a lot of reflection. My room is pretty small, but there's a lot of vibration because it's a shed, which is up on top of cinder blocks. So I'm not on top of like an actual concrete structure or anything.
Kind of grab a lot of that vibration.
Yeah, like if I hit my snare or a kick or a tom or whatever, it vibrates through the entire shed and you can hear it reflecting through the cymbals and it's coming through all the mics and there's a lot of bleed and using gates is what a lot of people do when they record, which cuts off the sound immediately after you hit the drum or the cymbal or whatever sound you're getting. Um, so it's kind of a good thing, but then it sounds choked, which isn't good for the recording because you still want it to have that open, raw feel, but be controlled. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a rabbit hole for sure. And if we go down there, we'll talk for hours. But that's basically what I've been doing this last week besides home projects.
Yeah.
Um, so we had to fix some gutters around here at the house. We got some cameras for outside because we're getting chickens soon. So we have a spotlight camera, like a motion camera that I set up in the backyard to add to our Blink system because we don't have the Ring system. We have Blink. It's just a different brand.
Yeah.
And been setting all that up. And then today we have a rain barrel that we've been using to collect rainwater for all the plants because she has a ton of plants. So just to save a little bit and to use the water that's just natural that comes out or whatever, we have one of those barrels. So I had to hook that up to the gutters with a filter so we don't get any of the granules from the actual shingles.
You know
So
what's
just small
interesting
projects.
is I've heard that there's states where those that is illegal.
I have heard that too, and I don't know why. Why it comes from the sky?
I think it has more to do with like you're paying for water and now you're
Oh,
stealing water. That's always been my concept of it, and I don't
we
like. I would love to look into it, but like
mhm.
I've heard that there's places where that is not okay.
Yeah, it's not no rules out here when it comes to that. That's why living out in the country is kind of cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, so we're going to be using that water and using it for the plants, using it for the chickens, using it for anything outdoor. Some stuff indoors. We still use our faucets, but we're
yeah.
just kind of exploring that avenue to see what happens. We'd probably
Not
need some bigger
not
tanks.
like you haven't like fully jumped into the water of hippie, but like you have a leg or two in.
Yeah, and that's mostly because of Carrie.
Yeah.
She's converting me, I guess you could say. But a lot of it's just easy to install, and why not? You know.
Yeah,
So
no, like I've always been into like like what you're talking about with like what's like the rain gutter. Is that what you're
mhm.
calling it? Like I've always
No, it's a barrel. So it's like a half of a 50-gallon drum. So
yeah,
it's a plastic one.
you're calling it a rain gutter, right?
Um,
What's it called?
so it's coming from the gutter, which is going into the downspout, and the downspout spits the water into the barrel.
What I'm saying is like, what's the system called?
I don't know what the system's called. It's just a rain barrel. I think that might be
Yeah,
actually
like
what it's called.
it's like all on like rain barrel, rain gutter. Like
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying is like I've always been into that idea. Like I think Jeremy's looked into it as well, like for like watering his garden and stuff. Just hasn't
yeah.
got around to it. So like,
I mean, if we can direct the water into a big tank, because 50, it's not a full half. I forget how many gallons it is. It might be 25, but it's basically exactly half of a barrel visually, but it's got different compartments, and it does have a nozzle like a faucet on the bottom that you can turn on and off to get the water out of. The only issue is going to be if you want it for plants and for like watering and stuff, you probably have to get a bigger tank to direct the water into from the smaller tank, and then get a pump, and then you're looking at gas or electric. So I mean,
I mean, you
there,
could just get, like one of those easy like little fucking like pond pumps.
yeah,
They're like this big. Like
hmm
I think that would be enough to water whatever you're looking to water.
for sure, yeah. So we're going down that path. So that's basically all I've been doing. So practicing a lot. I'm going down the rabbit hole of learning some drum stuff I should have learned when I was first starting out, like the Purdy Shuffle. Um, he's like a classic, the most recorded drummer. I actually just downloaded his book. I'm going to be reading that when I'm flying out for these Ace shows next week or this week. Just because he's recorded with 4,000 artists. He's the most recorded drummer of all time.
Okay.
And he's got nothing but feel. So it's like, it doesn't matter if you can't play blast beats or double bass or whatever, that all these metal kids that I'm friends with will say like, "Oh, he can't do that." I'm like, "But watch, trust me, like this dude knows what he's doing and he grooves." And so I'm kind of going down that path too. So I have a lot of things going on in the background while I'm kind of not busy off the road,
Hmm.
but I'm trying to keep the brain working.
It's cool, man.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that comment kind of coincides with what you shared from Joey Sturgis today as well. Like the feel. Like
Yeah.
it's not about what you have and what you can plug in. It's about like what you can create and what you can feel. And like
Yeah.
it means so much more.
Yeah, for real. And Joey and I reconnected recently, and it's been cool. I'm glad that we are talking again and kind of like connecting again.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, besides that, I guess Sunday, everybody watched the Super Bowl. We can dive down that path. I went over to my friend Jeff's house. He's got a home studio down in Spring Hill, and my buddy Graham was there. I met a couple new drummers. Jake, who plays for Luke Combs, was there hanging out with his girlfriends. We hung out with them. Then family friends of Jeff's were there too. So it's pretty crowded, but he's got a big house, nice studio, like 20-foot ceilings in his basement. Nice studio. It's pretty gnarly. So we went there, and he has like a home theater. So we watched the game in his like home theater or whatever. It was a lot of fun.
That's
Um,
sweet.
but man, that game, I can't wait to talk about it. It was pretty good. Pretty good game.
So
But yeah, what
I'll
about
kind
your weekend?
I'll recap my weekend with my Sunday first, kind of keep it together.
Yep.
So like I love what I do. I love the company I work for. I love a lot of things about it. But like there's certain times of the year where like it like it's always hard. Like so like I've never watched a Super Bowl from beginning to end since like high school, right? I've always had to work it.
Same.
Like
Or
and like
not
for
work,
me,
but watching.
like I've always been busy. I've always had to work it. I've always had to do whatever. So I've never seen one from beginning to end. And like the planning and the execution of to be able to pull off a Super Bowl in my industry is like it's no joke and it takes weeks and weeks and weeks of planning. So like getting through it, it's always exciting, right? So like last night, like we were coming close on breaking our daily sales record, which is like a huge feat. You only have an opportunity a few times a year to actually have a shot at it. And like the being able to do it right, it feels great. So like there's been a few years where like it's worked out phenomenal, like a great execution, no flaws, no hiccups. Like this year, like we kind of got a little greedy and kind of opened the floodgates and took on a little bit too much business than what we probably should have. And it got rough for a little bit, but like 97% of the night like was fucking perfect. And then that 3% it got wild there for a minute. But so like my uh feeling towards the Super Bowl, like I always typically get off around halftime, right? And so like my first memory of this any Super Bowls is halftime. So like I'm very judgmental on halftime shows, right? Because I've just got my dick kicked in for the last several hours, and I'm walking into a halftime show.
Laser focused.
Sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes it is not.
Right.
And like me and my wife, like we were talking about that earlier, like this exact statement, and like we were kind of on the halftime show part of it, and like I was like, "How is it?" Because I mean, I got home and like nothing against Rihanna, but like that doesn't tickle me where I itch, and so like I instantly just was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take a shower and I'll catch the second half."
Joe,
And so she stayed up and watched it, and I was asked her about it. She was just like, "Eh, I could take it or I could leave it. It was whatever."
you don't have to be a Rihanna fan. I promise. It's not.
So
It's not
like,
required. You don't have to be a fan.
no, but like my thing about the Super Bowl halftime show is one of two things have to happen. It has to be a collaboration of multiple different eras, genres, talents, or you have to put on the best show fucking possible. And so like recent history, just smack the shit out of the microphone there. Happy for your ears.
Woo.
Um, so recent history, like halftime shows that stand out is last year's with like Snoop Dogg and Eminem and Dr. Dre. Like that'll go down as one of my favorites of all time.
It was
Like
sick.
that was fucking
It was
awesome.
so sick.
And then like the year before, I don't know who that guy was. It wasn't good. I didn't like it. I have no idea who the fuck he is.
I would have to look it up.
And then I think the year before that it was Maroon 5. And like he was in the crowd, he was all over the place. Like they were fucking killing it. Like he just put on a fucking good show. Um and then outside of that, like it goes back to like the MTV days where like and they got banned from doing the halftime shows, but the the one that sticks out to me was like NSYNC, Britney Spears, Nelly, uh, Aerosmith. Like that is a collaboration of music. Like doing "Walk This Way" and everybody had their part. Like that was fucking sweet.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Maybe The Weeknd was the guy
The
that
Weekend was
I'm trying to think.
21. Yep. It was good. I thought he did a good job.
I couldn't tell you any of his music. I've never heard any of it, and I thought it was fucking terrible.
2020 was good. It was Shakira and Jennifer Lopez. They both still got it. I will say that. They got what they had before. It's just aged like a fine wine.
Fine
Fine
wine.
wine. Yeah, they did a great job. I remember. Do you know the controversy behind that though? How Jennifer Lopez was
Uh,
like upset because Shakira like took some of her spotlight. There was a huge thing about that.
Shut the
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. But yeah, then 2019, you're right, was Maroon 5. I remember that one. Um, yeah, there's been some crazy halftime shows, man. Katy Perry and Lenny Kravitz 2015, that was pretty gnarly. Beyonce 2013, that was pretty gnarly. Yeah, so I mean,
I didn't like that one. I thought it was terrible.
it was just a very athletic performance on her part, in my opinion. Like to be able to do that,
Like the Beyonce one.
yeah,
Like there
she
was it
dances
was also
very
kind
well.
of like controversial as
A little
well.
bit, yeah. A lot of them are. You gotta find a way to get trends, dude. That's how they make money.
You don't need to get trends when you have the entire world
You're
watching.
not wrong,
Like
but we don't make the rules.
there's like 3 events across the world where everybody tunes in, and it's like the UEFA Cup, the World Cup, Champions League, Super Bowl. Like those events are the only events that there's somebody in every continent watching. And like so I don't know if making it controversial is really part of
I
the
don't think it's
thing, but
necessary, is what I mean. But some people say that a lot of that is planned just for extra oomph when it comes to getting attention for that specific company.
What's wild is the, the Super Bowl, they don't get paid.
To do the halftime show?
Yeah. And anything, any part of the show that they want to do comes out of their own pockets.
Oh wow. I didn't know that. I think I had heard a rumor about that. But you have to think the perks of doing it. Like they don't need the money. The
Yeah.
artists that do it are already very successful. So like they're basically getting VIP treatment more than they would if they had to pay for a box. They probably get a box. They probably get all the food they want, all the drinks they want.
Well, part of it is like, so Pat McAfee was talking about this today. So like Rihanna hasn't performed live in 5 years. And so like doing the halftime show, like propels you back into your prime as if you've been relevant, like you've always been relevant.
Right.
And so like doing these halftime shows is absolutely massive for your career if you're trying to do something again. So say Rihanna's about to drop an album or do whatever, like getting this catapult into back into limelight is huge.
Pretty smart from a marketing standpoint. Pretty smart.
And you know who is the gatekeeper to all this? Jay-Z.
Really?
So he's the one. So he used to be a, what do you call it? Agent for NFL, NBA players and stuff like that. And he had stopped that when a lot of like shit was going on through like the 19, 20, 21, and he became a NFL advisor. And part of his thing is like, I don't exactly understand everything that he does, but one of his parts of the NFL is like helping pick the halftime shows.
It'd be a fun job.
And so like when everybody was like when Rihanna was on stage, like, oh, Jay-Z has songs with her. And like so everyone was kind of waiting for him to come out and he didn't. And it's like, well, she has songs with these people. They never came out. And so like she's the perfect person to kind of bring it all together back and bring all these fucking people out on stage. And she didn't fucking do it.
Yeah, we were
Like,
expecting at least some people to come out. We did see Jay-Z. They show all the celebrities that are there or whatever. He was there.
yeah, he fucking picked her.
I mean, he was there with his
It's
family
weird.
though, so he wasn't ready to perform. He's trying to hang out.
Fuck that. David, if you show up anywhere, doesn't matter where, you're drunk as fuck on Broadway, and you know the people playing, and they were like, "Hey, come up here and fucking play." Are you gonna say no? I'm not ready to perform.
I'd probably jump up there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, fuck
yeah.
that. Like,
I don't. I would never compare myself to Jay-Z though. So his career is
no,
he's at a different level, and he's been doing this a lot longer because he is a lot older than I am too. So
yeah, but he's still a performer, and it's still part
yeah,
of
yeah,
his
I
thing.
get you.
And like,
I get you. Um, so you got home during the halftime show, but you didn't watch a lot of it because you wanted to get ready to relax or whatever. Did you watch the rest of the game though?
yeah,
The second
so
half at least.
like I got to work about 8 and didn't leave until 8 or
Hmm.
9, and like I was fucking beat. So like I went in, took a shower, came out, everybody was asleep. So then I made some dinner and started watching the second half. And like once again, fucking refs, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, the game definitely would have went a different direction, in my opinion, if they wouldn't have made that call. Who knows if they would have scored? Who knows if the Eagles would have had a better chance? I know they would have because that they were what on the third down when that call was made, and then
Yeah.
they
So
got 5 yards plus first down.
th- like the issue, like my biggest issue is like they say like play like ref the fourth quarter like you did the
Hmm.
first quarter, and that penalty was the first penalty like that. I mean, holding penalty that like that had been called the entire game.
Yeah, I agree.
It's always two.
I mean,
So like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like, it had been you've been allowed to do it the whole time. It wasn't that
right.
egregious, but it's 2 Super Bowls in a row that this call has changed the game. And like last year was the Bengals, a bullshit holding call against Eli Apple. I'm pretty sure it was. And then this year, like, so like it's frustrating, man.
Yeah, I mean,
It's and like
I think everybody that
we
knows you knows you're a Bengals fan. And if not, everyone needs to know that we're also neutral when it comes to the Super Bowl, and we still knew it was a bullshit call. And that's the thing. If we're not biased and we're saying it, come on. Why would we have a reason either way? Neither of us care about those teams. It
Like
was just a terrible call.
I didn't care either way it went. Like, but like the frustration part of it is like when you're in sports, refs should be seen, not heard. They're out there, they're part of the game, but they're to mediate it, not dictate it. And like some refs in certain situations, like spasm, like, and that's probably what it was. And as soon as that fucking happened, I guarantee that ref in his head was like, "Shit, I
Maybe.
fucked up." Like,
Yeah. You also have to stick to your guns because they don't want you to be a wishy-washy. Like, it's good to have somebody that's direct, right? Especially in that position. No, you
mhm.
fouled them. I'm calling it. Not, well, maybe he didn't foul him. I don't know. You can't do that while you're out there in the field. So he
Yeah, I
had
mean,
to
that's,
stick with his answer.
but at the same point, like he hadn't called that all game,
Right.
and in that circumstance, in that situation, you can't call that. Like,
Right.
it has to be something ridiculous for you to be willing to call it.
Right.
Like,
To be
so,
honest with
like,
you, I thought the game was pretty even. Like, it was scoring, 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 scoring most of the game. There were only a couple times where Kansas City was showing that they were superior, but then the Eagles would rebuttal, and I would be like, okay, this is actually a great Super Bowl until that call.
great quarterbacks in history, across history of the NFL. The way to beat them is don't let them on the fucking field, right? Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, um, some of these high profile quarterbacks like Ben Roethlisberger in his prime, like people do it to Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow. Like, you beat the team by not letting the quarterback on the field. And like the first half, uh, Kansas City had the ball 8 minutes, like 8 minutes. They had two drives, and like they hardly had the ball. And in the second half, they went touchdown, 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 game winning field goal. Like
Pretty impressive.
the second half, the Eagles weren't able to keep him off the field. And so, like, with that being said, like Kansas City was basically like, all right, every time we have the ball, like we have to pretend it's our last drive, and they did that and they won. Like, so, like, fuck it, like, shout out to them.
Yeah.
So, like, the one thing I did want to say though is like, so like first of the year, sports betting became legal in Ohio, and so like I think I put $25 in one account, $25 in another account. Both of those accounts, like, you get free money and do all these other things. So like first of the year, I put $25. So I'm $50 in, and I basically have maintained it the entire time since then. So like last night, like I I like watching the Reds. I don't necessarily think I'm gonna bet a lot of games on them, right? Like outside of football, like I don't know what else I'm gonna bet on, right? So like the I had like about $100 left in this account. I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna throw up as many $5 to $10 bets as possible and see what fucking hits. And so like halfway through the game, I open it back up and I'm like, had won a couple already. I'm like, all right, whatever. And at the end of the day, like I ended up winning $5 because I was back at $105. Like, but I bet I probably had 25 bets on this account of just like random bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm back to where I started. And so like now I'm gonna piss this money away on baseball or whatever. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
I'll go to like UEFA League or something. I don't know.
yeah, I've never been super into sports betting. I know it's huge. I would have to pay attention to sports more, probably, to know the stats. That's why I don't do like fantasy league or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was a good game, and I know that that call. So the thing that really stuck out to me was even though Kansas City did have some crazy good drives in the second half, the Eagles stayed with them. They even were behind a point, and they decided to do the 2 point conversion, and that doesn't usually work out at that level, and they did it, and they tied the game. You know what I mean? 35
So
35.
it's been really big here recently because uh, the NFL pushed the extra point back to like a 35-yard field goal or something like that. Or if you go for two, you're on the 2 yard line.
Right.
And so, like, a lot more teams like, that extra point isn't guaranteed, and so a lot more teams are going for the 2 points. And so, like, I'm not saying every single game somebody's going for a two-point conversion, but you see a lot more than you used 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Yeah, I haven't kept up, but yeah, when I watched it, I was impressed. I was like, man, that quarterback for the Eagles, he's good. So yeah, it was a great game. That call was disappointing. I thought the opening musicians you'd missed, Babyface performed, did a great job. Chris Stapleton sang the national anthem, did a great job.
I caught that. That was
It was great.
he he's so
He
good.
is, and
Like, I love
what's
Stapleton.
interesting is that I've seen a lot of flack that says a lot of people were judging Rihanna for the halftime show not being very entertaining. In my opinion, it was a very elaborate halftime show. Those floating, they look like cell phones, almost like giant cell phones, is what it looked like, that they were floating up and down. Those are pretty cool. A lot of people dancing, a lot of video walls, a lot of fireworks and stuff. That's what people want, and so it got the job done. Um, wasn't the best halftime show I've ever seen, but I would never compare it to the beginning of the game where they were singing the national anthem. I've seen people online making fun of Chris Stapleton for some reason, saying, "Why would you say that he did a great job and like he was amazing when he just was sitting there singing an easy song that anybody could sing?" And I was like, first of all, you can't, in my opinion, you shouldn't disrespect the national anthem. Second of all, he's a classic country kind of singer dude. That's how he sounds. And I think he did a great job. So you can't compare those
Like,
two at all because there was not a live, huge, giant show with fireworks and background dancers and tracks playing most of the music and blah, blah, blah. When you have a guy in acoustic guitar, they aren't comparable. Why can't we say they both did a good job and move on? We can't because people just love to hate.
fucking internet sleuths are the worst. So, like, the issue is majority of the people nowadays don't have the ability to give praise without putting down. Like, in order for me to say somebody did good, I have to put somebody down in order to do that. And, like, as much as a negative person as I am in deep down in my soul, like, I fight it. Like, because, like,
Not always, Joe.
it's fucked up. Like, right? So, like, in order like, I'll joke with people and I'm super sarcastic and all these things, but, like, in order like, you shouldn't have to be like, "Well, that person's fucking sucks because this person did great." Like, fuck you. Like,
No,
in the nicest way
I
possible.
agree. And
Like, you don't
honestly,
have to put down to put up.
I I've been pretty stoked on trying to be positive no matter what, no matter how much people upset me or certain situations upset me, because I'm the one reacting in an angry way, and I've been trying to like
Mhm.
change that recently. So I've been kind of happy, and Carrie has been too. We've been talking things out, like when one of us gets upset about something, and we try to talk to the other about it, whether we're trying to fire them up, like we're fired up because it makes us feel better, or we're just trying to explain what made us upset. Um, After seeing a lot of the negative flack about Chris Stapleton in the Super Bowl, and then like people fighting back and forth, and even people I know, which is frustrating to see, I just kind of brushed it off because it's like there's nothing else for them to talk about, and they're just trying to stir the pot, and they're doing a very good job of it. So if I don't give that attention, then it's not going to affect me in a negative way. And
Yeah.
if I, keep pushing forward to try to be a positive person, um, in a world where everyone is so mean and hateful right now, um, I don't know. I think it's a good thing. So I'm going to try to reflect that on you, Joe. I'm going to change you. I'm going to change you from a negative guy to a positive guy. This is about to happen.
Like, it was like it was for me, like, having kids, man, like, it even still a part of me, like, I still am a cynic deep down inside, like, I think the best of people, the worst of situations, right? And, like, there's things that I'll do and, like, I don't it'll hit me certain ways of how it affects people,
Yeah.
um, so we'll kinda backtrack, like, so Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, my family kinda got into this like, we used to go real elaborate with like Christmas gifts and buy each other all kinds of bullshit of like things that we want in life, but we're never willing to spend the money on each
Right.
other or ourselves. And so kind of over the years, like it's evolved into like events. So like for Christmas, I got tickets to go see Dan Cummins. And if you don't know who Dan Cummins is, research him, YouTube him, uh, get on his Time Suck podcast. Like the dude is absolutely hilarious, but he also has this podcast where he focuses on like true crime, but he like does a really good job on researching it and like looking it up. But then he also like he's also a comedian, so he has that like funny side twist of like these really fucked up situations. But I got tickets to go see him live and do a stand up in Columbus, and so like another family member bought everybody gift cards to a hotel.com so we can stay up there the night of the comedy
That's
thing.
cool.
But my sister and her husband bought basically like, hey, we're gonna take you guys out to Jags. So for those who don't know what Jags is, it's a really, 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 really nice steakhouse in Westchester. Like different people will say it's the best steakhouse they've ever been to. Some will say like top five. Some will say it's on the list. Like regardless, it's on the list of one of the best steakhouses I've ever been to. And so like kind of it's a couple really cool things about it is it has a million different rooms in it. So like you're never part of this giant dining hall, right? And like that's part like it's very inclusive. It's very like small feeling
Hmm.
because of everything's in small rooms. So like I don't think there any room has more than 6 tables in it. And the kitchen kind of seems like it's in the middle.
Hmm.
And then all of these rooms are around the outside. One of the coolest parts about it is I've been there probably 4 or 5 times, so I've never been to the bar area. Well, this time me and Jess went down early before everybody got there. We went to the bar, and the bar is like a circle. And in the middle of the bar, they have like all their liquor and all that shit around. But then on top of that, they have a mini grand piano and a dude up there playing guitar, and then he would turn around and play this mini grand piano, and then he'd turn around and play guitar,
That's
and
cool.
like it was so fucking sweet.
Yeah, that's
Like
awesome.
I took a picture of him, and like so like if we post this clip of it, and like we could put that picture of this up there with it,
That'd be cool.
I guess like the thumbnail, but like it was so sweet. And
Yeah.
like I've been to a lot of like really cool restaurants, but like in that setting, like it didn't seem uncomfortable. It didn't seem unnatural. Like it was very just part of the vibe of that room.
Hmm.
It was perfect.
That's awesome.
Uh, but like Jags, known for steak, known for seafood, have a few other good items. But like we've gone there a few times, and like it's so fucking good every time, man. Like
We need to go there next time
what,
we're in Ohio. I'll try to have
dude?
Carrie come with me, or maybe we could just go.
Fuck it. Like
Yeah.
tell me when.
Yeah.
So like part of the like me and Jess like one of our things that we like to do is like go to these like high end steakhouses and like TJ and Jeremy have kind of gotten more into it and like Hannah and Dave, her husband, starting to get in more into it. And like there's nothing better than trying to find the best steak house in the United States.
It's a
And
fun
like
journey.
we haven't gone to like a lot of the big cities and stuff, but like I've gone to a lot of places and like I've gone down that rabbit hole of like, all right, that's the most expensive steak on the menu. Let's fucking get it. And like this isn't a flex by any means. It's literally just like there's certain things you enjoy in life, and like this is one of those things that we fucking love.
Nothing
And
wrong with
like
that, man. Nothing wrong with that at all.
so like I have a list of like my favorite steakhouses,
Hmm.
and like every single time we go out to eat or get something different, like we always kind of change it, alter it, talk about it, and
Hmm.
like so like I'm been excited to hear about this with you because you kind of been all over the place.
A little bit. Yep.
And like so like for me, like I have like 3 that are like almost untouchable,
Mm-hmm.
and then like another 3 underneath of that that are like I just really liked certain aspects of it, and so that's why they're on the list. But like, I'd love to hear about like one of your favorite places to eat you've ever been to.
Let me make sure I get the name right. So it's a Brazilian steakhouse, and it is a chain, but they don't have them everywhere.
Okay.
So let me look it up real quick. But it's like kind of like an all-you-can-eat sort of thing, where they just bring you all of the meat, and I do mean that quite literally. I think it's like 60 or $70 a person, but it's kind of like a buffet style, but they bring it to you, so you don't get up. So it's all
Yeah. So
like
like
served to you.
when I turned 21, my brothers took me to Boston. We did this pub crawl. We went to this Brazilian steakhouse, and it was very similar. Like you had like this like thing that said like I want meat,
Hmm.
and then you flip it over and meant that like I don't want any more meat. And you kind of just do that, and then people would come around these giant skewers
Yeah,
and like these giant knives
it
and
might have been the
cut
same place, dude. It's called
meat off.
Fugo de Chao.
Okay.
Um, Fogo, Fogo de Chao. But in any case, I've been to a lot of those locations. The first one I went to was in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
My dad was born there.
That's cool. I didn't know that. Um, but I don't know if it's actual beef from Brazil or if it's the way they just
It's the
prepare.
style in which they serve it.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if it was the way they prepared it or cooked it or whatever, but every time I've been there, it's been a great experience, dude. Some of the best steak I've ever had in my life, for sure. Especially when it comes to chains, because I've been to some small places here and there. Ruth's Chris, I think everybody's been there if they're a steak fan. Um, Still good. It's just I wouldn't say it's the best.
Last year, somebody bought gift cards to go to Jeff Ruby's, and
Oh yeah.
Jeff Jeff Ruby's is fucking legit. If you've never been to one, and
Hmm.
if you have the opportunity, pick Jeff Ruby's. It's it's an event. It's so good. There's nothing you're gonna not like about it. Like, and I could tell this full story about Jeff Ruby's, and like maybe that'll be another podcast because like literally this one event is like probably like a 30-minute long story. So
Oh
like,
wow.
um, but like it was so good. It was so perfect. Like not one aspect of this event I could put down, but part of the find of trying to find like the best steakhouse is you have to like go to other places. And
Hmm.
so like my wife went to a Ohio State game and got a hotel up there, and it was for an anniversary, and like so we got a went to the game. We're gonna go back to our hotel and chill, and then we're gonna go out to eat. And like so we had bought like so there was a Jeff Ruby's down the road, and there was a Ruth Chris. And, like we had never been to a Ruth Chris, but we had been to Jeff Ruby's, and we're like we wanted to go there, but we were like part of the journey you have to go other places,
Yep.
right? So like we went to Ruth Chris, and like nothing against it, like it was good. The food was good, like experience was good, but like it's not in my top 5, and it might not even be in my top 10 of best steak restaurants I've ever been to.
Wow.
And like
Okay.
there's people out there that like like Ruth Chris is a expensive, nice restaurant.
It is.
But like for me, like I think I could come up with 10 better places.
I hear
And
you.
like so my biggest frustration about it was like they lean so hard in talking about this like Creole Louisiana, like this is where it's from and all this shit. I'm like, okay, so like what Creole, what Louisiana items do you have? Like, well, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Like, what stuff from Louisiana do you say to have?
Like
Like, oh no,
jambalaya.
we're just from Louisiana. We don't have like Creole Louisiana items. I'm like, then don't fucking talk to me about it.
Don't talk to me, Jess says.
Like it was such a big aspect. So the other thing, like when you're spending $100 for a steak, and that's just the steak, that's not the sides, that's not the drinks, that's not all these other things. Not that I want to feel special, but I kind of want to be wined and dined a little bit.
It's a lot of money.
Like our server was like having us talk to this table next to us, and it was their anniversary too. And like, all right, cool. Like, there's a time and place for me to interact with other tables,
Hmm.
but when I'm planning on spending three, four, $500 on a meal, like, I don't want to talk to them. They are not why I'm here. Like, and so like that was a little bit more of the frustration as well. Like, that girl was probably a awesome server, but like maybe not in that aspect,
I get
in
that.
that in that environment.
I get that. It's got to be higher end, especially if you're spending that much. Because I mean, if you're going to pay a tip according to the standard of tips between 20 and 25%, depending on the service, right?
Mhm.
It's a lot of money if you have a $500 bill. So yeah, it better be top notch service. And that's one of the things we can go back to when it comes to one of our first podcasts. Shameless
Yeah,
plug. Was it episode 1 where we talked about customer service?
yeah.
How you don't have to be in customer service. So the people that complain about their jobs, go find another fucking job. Anyway, no more
So
negativity.
so I'll give you my top few
Yeah,
places
please.
I
Please.
love. So like my number one was a Marco Prime, and I don't necessarily think it's Marco Prime. I think Prime is the style of restaurant or the name of the restaurant, and they have them kind of all over the country.
I don't know if I've been to
Um,
one.
and there's very specific to regional. Like, their menu changes, their sous chefs alter menus based off of what's available in the area. So Marco Island in Florida is beautiful, awesome. If you have like put on your short list of vacations to go to. But like uh I walked in and like I was there on a work uh reward trip, we'll say. And I wasn't expecting to get any money to spend there. And when I walked in, they gave me a $600 gift card and Jess a $600 gift card for spending money while we're down there. So like we're like, all right, like let's do some stuff that we'll never do in our life.
Smart.
And like one of the things that we went is like we're gonna go to this restaurant, like it was literally right across the street from our hotel. But we walk in and like, all right, like we have $1,200 of money that we weren't expecting to get. And so I walk in and like the first thing I see on the menu is they have a Wagyu beef steak. And like I'm like, all right, it's the most expensive steak on the
Let's
menu.
do
We're
it.
fucking getting it. I get it, she gets it. We each get two sides. The waiter doesn't give us any sort of inclination of like anything, which was a little frustrating of how high end this restaurant was.
Hmm.
And it was all family service sides. And so like one side will feed maybe up to four people. And we ordered four sides a piece or two sides a piece. And like so we had so much fucking food, spent all this money on this steak. And like granted, like I didn't even use my knife on the steak. I was just using my fork to break it up. Like fucking phenomenal.
That's
Right.
awesome.
Um I would put Jeff Ruby's two for me because it is such an event,
Hmm.
and like I would love to get into details of this whole event of the night my first night going there. But like it is so good. It is so cool. It is like such a vibe. Like there's so many aspects of it that are just perfect.
Hmm.
But like their steak is without a doubt like top two.
It's great. I've been to the one in Columbus.
So like they have two in Cincinnati. One is the cigar shop. One is I forget the name of the other one, but like they're just perfect,
Hmm.
man. They're awesome. Um, so my number three I struggle with. So like I'll break it up in half. My number three in Ohio is uh, Pine Club, man.
Pine Club has some good ones. Yeah, has some good steak.
Pine Club has does like the aged steak, the dry aged
I
steak,
remember.
and like it gives it like almost like a barbecue taste to it, and it's just so different than anything I've ever had.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also like a blast in the past. Like you walk, like they don't take credit cards. It's cash or check only. You can make a house account. Like it's walking into the 50s every time you go in there. And then like every sitting president has gone there at some point or another, and they don't fucking take a reservation. They make the fucking president of the United States get on the wait list. And when we have open table, you can fucking sit down. And like I think at this point, like the restaurant just thinks it's like such a flex. Like that's just
Some big
they
old
love
balls to make the president wait.
it. Yeah. But like the other one is in St. Pete. It was called like 10,000 Degree Grill or something like that. It was like an old house. Like it was very small. It was very quaint. Like it was so good, but at the same point, like it was so relaxed as well. So
That's
like
good.
it had a if you had like a Jeff Ruby's meets sports bar, that's what this place was like. Because like the kitchen and the bar were one, is how small it was. And like your server would be at the bar, like, "Hey, are you ready for another drink?" And you'd be like 3 tables over, and you're like, "Yeah, I'll take another one." Like, "Okay, cool." And like have the bartender make it, and like
Weird.
bring your food and drinks over. So like in the place, it probably only had like 15 tables,
Hmm.
but like their kitchen, like you could see everything from your table. You could see the kitchen, you could see the front door, you could see the bar, you could see every part of the restaurant you could see from your seat. But it was like just a little house on the beach, and man, it was
That's
awesome.
great.
And like
Small
I
places are
think part
cool.
of me like the food I think was really really good, but like just the vibe, how small it was, like how cool it
Hmm.
was, like I think made it like on the list for me.
Nice.
Like if I were to open up a place, it would be something like that.
Okay. Hell yeah. I assumed eventually there would be a Fouts restaurant between you and your brothers. I just didn't know when or how. Uh, it should happen if it hasn't already been in the works in the background that we're not aware of. But yeah, you guys would kill it because you've all worked in the industry, cooked, like cook on your own, grow a lot of your own
Mm.
stuff. I know Jeremy's got his own garden and stuff. So like it's not like you guys are idiots when it comes to all of that. Even the management side of it, the customer service side of it, the bartending side of it. You guys have everything. So I don't know why you haven't. I don't
I
know.
think at this point in life, I think since it's haven't happened in this point in life, if it were to ever happen, it would happen when we retire, and it would be in a food truck. Like I don't think that like in order to make enough money in the restaurant industry, like you have to have multiple
Hmm.
restaurants, and it has to be this giant conglomerate. And you have to put in a ton of work in the actual building in order for it to be profitable to do this. So we'd all have to be working like tons of hours. And like I think at this point in our lives, like if we ever do this, we're all gonna be retired, and it's gonna be a food truck, and we're gonna do it whenever the fuck we want. And it's gonna be like a very like sporadic thing, but like it's gonna have would have a big following.
Yeah,
And like that'll be our
yeah.
retirement. Like
Do you remember when you guys catered my wedding? That was good
mhm.
times. Great food.
we had a dude, we did a little bit of catering with that catering business called Sideshow
Hmm.
Catering. Like we did a lot of like so you know how that came about,
Yeah,
right?
I remember that whole thing.
TJ got laid off and needed money, and so we started the sideshow
You
catering.
guys could have kept doing it, but I totally get it. And I actually thought about this. I mean,
It pushed it, we got enough business to where either somebody had to quit a job and we had to go all in on it, or we had to stop it completely because like it was too busy for just him to do, but it wasn't quite busy enough for like to carry the weight of two people.
yeah, I get that.
So like somebody needed to have the balls to stop what they were doing to push it, or because he also did like when some private events, some private dinners and stuff like
That's cool.
that.
I figured with the kids, it'll be even harder now. Um, but in any case, I did want to ask you about whiskeys. Is that the
Okay.
next? Can we go into the next subject then? And we're back. We took a pee break because we're drinking. Oh, let me do a plug real quick then. I've been drinking these Athletic Brew non-alcoholic IPAs, and they are delicious. Well done, Athletic Brew. It's a good thing to have. So when I went to that Super Bowl party, um, I drank these, and I drove home completely sober, but still had a good time. It was awesome.
So
Anyway,
what's up? So what's up with NAs? Like, is it just
there's multiple reasons. It's health reasons. Trying to keep the liver in shape, trying to get in better shape. These have like hardly any calories, but I still taste like I'm drinking beer. When I drink an IPA, because I'm, yes, a beer snob, kind of like you're a whiskey snob, um, it's like 300 calories or more per beer sometimes for one beer. It's a lot. So I was packing on those pounds because of these beers. So mostly health and weight loss.
so have you found like so for me like similar, like I didn't like drinking the heavy beers and all this
Hmm.
shit. And so like part of the reason why I got into whiskey and bourbon was because of the calories. So um like if you drink a 2 ounce pour of like whatever bourbon, like most of them are under 100 calories. Whiskey or like vodka is obviously less or whatever, but like um
That's Carrie's go-to.
it's like
Vodka water with lime.
so like here's this one. I've, I've been waiting for this to come out in Ohio. Like it's been in Tennessee for a while. It's been other states for a
Hmm.
while. So like a bourbon, like I enjoy it. It's not one of my favorites, but I enjoy it. It's a Whistle Pig Piggyback, and it's like everybody's making these craft cocktail kits. Hold this up so you can see it. So
Oh, interesting. Blackberry lemon fizz. Very cool.
yeah, fucking delicious. 8% alcohol, 100% rye whiskey. But yeah,
Cool.
first time I saw these, it was like $10 for a 4 pack. Kind of pricey, but I mean high octane. So um, but to kind of keep it together,
There you go. That's one of your go-tos right now. 100% rye whiskey.
I, so Whistle Pig are heavy weeded
Hmm.
bourbons. And not typically a big fan of like the heavy wheat. I think they taste young to me, like young, just not as old. And this is a 6 year, 100% rye. And so typically most rye is around 2 to 3 years. So like it's a very old rye as well. Ryes don't take long to age to get to the flavor you want. And so like if it's a 6 year aged rye, like and you're probably gonna get a little bit smoother taste out of it. Like a lot of ryes, it's a lot of
Hmm.
burn, a lot of like most ryes have like a high alcohol content too. But it's good. I found it, liked it. So on the last conversation we had on the previous podcast, you had talked about wanted to talk about what bourbons to get
Yep.
into. So I've been kind of sitting here thinking about it and I kind of came up with a little bit of a list for you. So like a little bit of a starter pack, like some things that I got into like early on that kind of got me into bourbon. Like one was Basil Hayden, and then Four
I've had
Roses,
Four Roses.
and then Town
Okay.
Branch. And all of those I would say do like their single barrel or whatever it is. Um, very smooth. Most of them are sweeter, and so it kind of gets rid of a little bit of that burn or
Hmm.
whatever. But most aren't too bad. Um, my thing is like find out whether you want it with ice or not. Um, I drink to enjoy it, and like I care less about the taste and more about like whether it's quenches my thirst. Um, so like a lot of people like they want to taste all these different notes and all these different things, but like with most bourbons, I can pick that out with the ice still on it. But, like, if I'm tasting something I've never had before, I might try it first without the ice and then add ice in
Yeah.
after. But, like, for me, like, those 3 is kinda like the gateway drug to bourbon. That's kind of what I got into, like, the ones that I really enjoyed and then got
Hmm.
into. Like, now I'm to the point where, like, I want a rye, I want a high octane, like, I wanna taste a lot of different things, and that's kinda where you're at with,
Hmm.
like, your beer, like, you want a lot of different fucking shit going on, and you wanna try and pick out all the
Yeah.
different stuff.
Usually. So like especially on tour, most of the time, bands riders or artists riders will have just like a 24 pack or a 12 pack of something light. Usually Miller Lite is like the most common, but there for a while we were getting a lot
Mhm.
of Michelob Ultra. So I mean, those are
Yeah.
sippable. They're not bad beers. They just don't have the same flavors, obviously, that an IPA or a pale ale or like I don't know. Sometimes I'm into the brown ales or I'm not a huge fan of like Guinness or any of the dark oatmeal stouts or any stouts or anything like that. Like it's a little too much for me. It's kind of syrupy. Even some of the IPAs can be syrupy. So it just depends. I'm more of a West Coast style IPA guy. So clear,
Citrusy, like the
almost see through, right? There's not a lot of haze going on in here. But yeah, citrus notes definitely for sure. Beer nerd stuff. But these have been impressively tasty. Like if I poured this in a glass and gave it to you and didn't tell you what it was, you would just assume it was an IPA. No other question.
so athletic became very popular, so, like, the last year, like, they've been a mandate, in the company I work for. So, like, every B-dubs nationwide has athletic in
Nice.
their
Yeah,
coolers.
I have
Um,
the IPA and then the copper, which is almost like a Mexican lager is what it tastes like.
so the 2 that we carry 2, it's, what's the name of that one?
The one I have here is Run Wild IPA. It's a blue can.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
Run
that's this one,
Wild,
the blue one.
and
And then I know the light's kind of weird.
what's the other one
The other
called?
one is Cerveza Athletica. So it says it's a copper,
So we don't carry.
light copper.
Yeah, that's not the one we carry. It's, Run Wild
These
and
are all wet.
shit, I'm forgetting the other name of the other one. I'll sit here and look it
It's
up
all good.
as you're talking.
But no, I mean the thing about the beers too, it's one of those things. It's definitely a social thing. I still drink beer, um, but when it comes to drinking at home or knowing I'm going to be driving or any of that stuff, it's nice to have an alternative that tastes exactly the same. So honestly, if I didn't know it didn't have alcohol and no one told me and they just poured it, I would assume it had alcohol. So I mean, it's more of a mental thing, um, but also like the health behind it. It's just like a low calorie soda that tastes like beer, basically. Hardly any sugar. Um, and yeah, they're kind of blowing up. They're kind of blowing
So
up
the
right
other
now.
one,
That company.
it's Run Wild, and then it's, the other one that we have is Upside Down.
Hmm.
Down. It's a golden, and then it's like the other ones I have is a hazy IPA,
They have a
and
sour
then
too.
Athletic Light. Yeah, I just saw the
Yeah, it's a real
sour as well.
colorful can or whatever. Uh,
Yeah. Um,
Either way,
for me, like, it was like at one point I turned, like, gluten free. I went, like, a full
I
gluten free
remember.
diet just to kind of help me out, and I was drinking only vodka, and I kinda got sick of it, and so I started drinking bourbon, and then I kinda got off the gluten free diet, but I started enjoying the bourbon and the kind of, like, transition because I used to be into all kinds of different beers, different IPAs, and, like, there's still a few I enjoy. If I go to a place, like, I'll have a beer and I can enjoy it, but for me, like, the calorie intake versus like, IPA versus a beer like, a bourbon, like, bourbon still carries quite a bit of calories and, like, but not anything too
No,
wild. Like, most 20 like, a 2-ounce pour of a bourbon versus a 12-ounce can of an IPA, like, you're talking, like, 100, like maybe 100 calories, 90 calories to 100 versus whatever. So like when I say like I drink Coors Light to stay sober, like it's kind of like literally what I mean is I'll drink a domestic beer and then sip on a bourbon to
Get you where
get
you
me
want to
where
go.
I want to go.
I figured you were going to say that. That's like your saying. It gets me where I need to be. No, I get that. But the
Like,
calories, it's
and
hard to deny with beer. Even light beers, because most of my friends that drink light beer, they'll have like 6 or more. If you're drinking a 100 calorie beer, like I'm drinking light beer, you just had 6. That's 600 calories. Plus, you probably had food, right? So like that stacks on real quick. And it's interesting to me that a lot of the guys that drink light beer are heavier than the guys that drink like IPAs a lot of the time. Just saying.
so the light beer thing, like I'll have this is so weird. Like we're gonna get into it. So like I'll drink beer to a certain time in the night and like got kids, gotta play dad. Like we'll do dinner, and like typically I won't start drinking like whiskey until like bath time. And then it's bath time, bedtime, and then everybody's in bed and it's by myself. So like, it's kind of when this podcast happens is everybody's in fucking bed right now. Everybody's asleep in the house. And so like typically on a night like this, like I'm just sitting from the couch watching whatever. And so like you can only drink so much by yourself. And so it's like, all right, fuck it. Like kind of my excitement of doing this podcast is like, all right, get someone to fucking
Yeah,
hang out
yeah,
with and
nothing
drink
wrong with
with.
that, man. We're socially drinking. It counts. But we have to do it remotely because
Little
I'm
awkwardnesses. Little awkwardnesses. I'm the only one
well, I
drinking.
mean, I'm still drinking just they're NA beers. It's 0.5%, Joe. I am drinking alcohol.
Oh my god.
0.5.
Do you were you with us when we drank a bottle of non-alcoholic whiskey at one of our friends'
I don't think
house?
so. Doesn't sound familiar.
It was like whiskey or wine. It was at Jason's house, and his mom gave us like 0.05% wine or
Did,
whiskey.
did you guys act drunk or what? Yeah,
It was a weird night. It was a weird night.
I
We
believe it.
drank all of
I
it.
believe it. Yeah.
It was a weird night. It
No,
was a
I
weird
don't feel these drinks at all. At all. So,
yeah.
yeah, I guess you are drinking by yourself, but not really, Joe. I'm here with you. It counts. It counts.
In spirit. So, like, I wanna talk about a few of the other ones on the
Yeah, you got a lot of
history.
whiskeys
So,
listed here.
like, my favorite brands, like the E.H. Taylor, like, one of my favorites, if I see it in a liquor store, it doesn't matter how much money I have in my bank account, I will buy whatever bottle it is.
Wow.
And, their cheapest bottle is, like, $65, but, like, if you go to a state that's not, like, a state-controlled liquor store, like, that $65 bottle is probably maybe, like, 120,
Oh
130,
wow.
140. Um, but they also have, like if you go to a bar and you're able to find it, like, I've paid $65 for a 1 ounce pour of, like, their 4 grain bourbon. So, like, 1 ounce of 4 grain bourbon for
Hmm.
$65. Um, but, like, Michter's a little bit cheaper, Old Forester a little bit cheaper, um, and Weller's also, like any of their bourbons are good. And Old Forester, any of their bourbons are good. Michter's, any of their bourbons are good. So any of those ones, like if you ever see any of them, like you can buy it and it's whatever brand it is of their
Okay.
bourbon, it's
Okay.
gonna be good. Angel's Envy is one of those ones. Like I think they have two bourbons that they make. One is aged in a wine barrel. One is aged in a rum barrel. After like
Hmm.
it matures, and like so they both have wildly different flavors, but like their more expensive one is their rye, and they age it in a rum barrel to finish it, and it tastes like
That's
fucking
wild.
maple syrup. And it's about $100 a bottle,
How
but
many
like
ounces?
it's 25 ounces, and like but like it is unequivocally
Hmm.
so fucking good. Like And like every now and then you'll get like so every now and then you'll get one that has that burnt sugar taste. So you'll get like a real dark char
Hmm.
from the whiskey, and then we'll go into a uh, rum barrel that's super sugary, and like every now and then you'll get that burnt sugar taste in a bottle. But like for the most part, like probably 1 out of every 10 I've had that have had
I
that
don't mind
taste
burnt
to it.
things.
Um, so do you know how like that taste of
Yeah.
like burnt caramel? Like when you like somebody makes caramel and they cook it too long, it kind of has
Hmm.
that burnt taste to it. That's what kind of like
That's
you
not
get a
that
little
bad.
bit of that aftertaste of that. No, it's still fucking good. It's it's
Yeah.
burnt
I mean, I
sugar, right?
think some of these that you're listing,
Uh,
I think I've had Weller before. I think at your place
yeah. So like
or at Jeremy's place.
Weller,
That sounds familiar.
so like a green label Weller is probably like one of the most drinkable, cheapest bourbons you're gonna find. Like it's hard to find it because it is so good for how cheap it is. Like same thing with Buffalo Trace. Like it is so good
I've had
because
Buffalo
it is
Trace.
so cheap. And like people will buy it because it is so cheap. And like the price comes with it. So like for me, like my daily drinkers, like it's the bullet. Like I enjoy the rye more than the regular one because the regular one is actually a blend. They buy bourbons from
I didn't know that.
smaller companies, throw it in a vat. Like so, if you look at the back of it, it doesn't even say they distill it. It just says made by
Hmm.
this company. Um, it's a blend by
I
this
think I've only
company.
had the Bullet Rye.
Um,
I've never had the other kind.
the orange label one is probably like the most prevalent, but like the rye they actually
That
make.
one of my old roommates used to
But
get that all the time. Luke, if you remember him.
yeah,
Huge fan of Bullet.
mhm. Like most bourbon people will say that's like one of the most versatile bourbons out there. Like you can use it for an old fashioned, you can drink it straight up, you can put it in Coke, like you can do whatever the fuck you want with it because it's cheap enough to where you don't feel bad about it, but it's good enough to where you can drink it straight up.
That's good. Yeah.
Hmm.
Killer.
But like my daily drinker, like I'll buy like a 2 liter of this shit, and it's like the Evan Williams 1783, and like it's sweet enough to where I can drink it straight and like still tastes good. But then like if you want to mix it with Coke or whatever else, like you don't feel bad about it because you spent $35 on
A
2 liters
huge
of
bottle.
bourbon. So it's like
I remember
it's
the only
massive.
time I've had Evan Williams anything was when they do the eggnog. So it's tasty.
Okay.
I do like it.
So like we went to their distillery and like TJ bought like an Evan Williams white label. It's like a barrel proof, like one of their higher end ones. And like certain bourbons just aren't meant to be high end, like
Hmm.
high octane, because it is so sweet. You don't taste it like that, and so like when you're drinking it, you're like, oh, like we're getting there, and then all of a sudden you're 3 drinks in and you're
Yeah.
fucked up, and like you're just in a bad spot. Like that's not where I want to be. Like if I'm like my daily drinker, I want it to be a 90% alcohol, right? Like a 90 proof, so like you don't want anything wild, right? So like right before COVID hit, me and my buddies did a bought a barrel of New Riff. Like went and did the whole
I think you
bourbon
mentioned that to me.
tasting and picked out our bourbon and like had like 30 some bottles of New Riff. Well, the issue was like it was 100 and like 18% alcohol, and then the world shut down. And so like I got 30 some bottles of like high octane bourbon. Like granted, I needed it because I was like working my
Hmm.
fucking ass off
Hmm.
during that time period. But like it was not the octane I needed to have like a shit ton of bourbon at my disposal right at
Well,
that moment.
that happens. We make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck it. It was fucking good though. It was awesome. It was a great experience to actually pick out the bourbon and pick out
Yeah.
the barrel though too.
I still have yet to do the bourbon trail.
Bourbon Trail was a million different places though. So
I know. I'm just saying, just that in general. Um, I would like to take Carrie and do that, but she's not a huge whiskey fan, so maybe I have to do that with you guys.
I will say I have the glass, and I'll do a shameless plug here for him. Like my hands down, like one of my favorite bourbons of all time is Peerless, and it's Peerless Rye. It's a handcrafted, very small company. They have one of the oldest uh, liquor license or distillery license in the world. Because through Prohibition, they were able to keep distilling it for medical purposes. But
Good for them.
yeah, so
Cool. I've heard that
super
name
good.
before. I've heard that name before.
Like they're in downtown Louisville, like on the river.
Nice.
But very cool spot. Very cool spot. So
Cool.
that's my bourbon talk for the week. I
Yeah.
would love to do my
I
shameless plugs each week of whatever I'm drinking at the moment. So I could probably find something different to drink each podcast if that was something that was a challenge to me. I could probably get pretty close to doing that.
I guess I need to start getting some whiskeys so I can join the whiskey club.
We can do a Dave's weekly tasting.
Yeah. Dave's
Like
tasting corner. I just keep trying all these new whiskeys, and you see my face is always like this.
and I like
Joe,
it.
why is that
And
good?
I
What are you
like it.
talking about? It's not good at all. It's like Carrie when she drinks IPAs that I buy. Not into it.
No,
No. She has been drinking these CBD drinks though. Talk about relaxed.
dude, I've heard those CBD drinks are the shit.
They are. They're awesome. So she didn't drink any alcohol yesterday either. She took like 4 CBD drinks. She was super relaxed. She had a
She's a
good
nice little
she had a good
spot.
time, but um not a football fan. She went for the socialization, you know.
I've heard that like I've never really had many gummies or different stuff like that. But I've heard like certain gummies you get a good milligram and like it just feels like a nice warm hug and you're just in a good spot.
Yep. Yep. I mean, we are big advocates for Absolute Aid. I don't know if you've heard of that company. They followed us. They're friends of ours. Um, they've been supporting our podcast and stuff, but they make really, really good gummies. So I actually have some here. I don't take these often, but this is the Focus gummy. Let me see if I can get it to be in focus. Cool. So
Okay.
Absolute Aid, they sell these CBD bites. Um,
Are those CBD bites or are
they're
they
gummies.
any THC in them?
None.
Okay.
If there is a level of THC, it's so minute you don't feel high, and you also don't pop any drug tests. I know that for sure because they did a lot of testing on these before they released them. Because they also have to, because you can buy these and get them shipped anywhere, even states that aren't legal, because it's not actually weed; it's just CBD.
Mm.
But in any case, their sleep gummies have been amazing. We're still waiting on more, but if you can't sleep, you take one of the sleep gummies, you just slowly, relaxingly fall asleep like naturally. It's awesome. You have no side effects. There's no hangover. Um, and they have a couple other gummies that Carrie likes. The relief gummies are really good because if she's sore from working out or yoga or something, um, yeah, the relief gummies. They have roll-on pain cream that are all CBD. We use that too. Like they have some killer products, but
Yeah.
I'll have to get you some so you can try it.
So I was more or less talking about like the THC gummies,
Oh,
like I'm like a low milligram
yeah,
gummy, like a 50 milligram gummy, or it's just like a all right, like I'm relaxed, I'm ready to go to bed now. But I've
50
also heard
milligrams. Whew, it's a lot.
yeah, 25. I don't know.
Most, from my experience, most gummies that you would get at a dispensary or um, at a store or whatever, it's like 10 milligrams per piece.
Okay,
So for the person that isn't seasoned, I would say 10 milligram, maybe two. For we're similar size humans, so I'd say two. 20 milligrams if you were gonna take one of those would probably be more than enough for you. But a lot of my friends are like, nah, I take 100. I'm like, you're crazy. Yep.
I've heard like stories and like my like I won't say the woman in my life that has dabbled in this, but like somebody, not my wife, somebody else, like went into a dispensary and like bought like a shit ton of this stuff and like was laying on the ocean and like was like letting the ocean like waterboard her and like 'cause she was just like rocking with the ocean, just like passing the fuck out as it was hitting her because she like just took all of the fucking edibles at once and like
Yeah, you got to be
it,
careful. You got to know your
yeah,
limits. It's better to, stick your toe in the water. Don't dive in head first. Did you watch any of the Super Bowl commercials? We didn't talk about that.
I didn't watch any.
Dude,
I,
look some up. You should look up
yeah,
the Dunkin' Donuts one because Ben Affleck was working at Dunkin' Donuts at the drive-through window.
that's
And
my brand, man.
there you go. Then you would like it.
No,
So Ben Affleck's
Dunkin'
working at the
Donuts is
drive-through
like
window, taking pictures of the people coming through the drive-through, doing whatever. And then J-Lo
it's like
pulls
two.
up, and she's
It's
like,
like 2 or 3 months
VP.
ago. This commercial leaked, right?
Oh,
And so like that, like Ben Affleck was working at a Dunkin' Donuts, and so like everybody thought it was really weird because like that's kind of like his MO on Twitter or pictures is like him smoking cigarettes and Dunkin' Donuts, right?
I didn't know
But
that.
like Dunkin' Donuts is like my second cousin company. Like they're part of the same brand as I
Right,
am.
right. I knew that. I didn't know if you liked their coffee. Their donuts are great.
Yeah, so like I had a probably by the time this comes out, it'll come out that I had an interview, and I had interviewed with one of the higher ups in Dunkin' Donuts, and
That's interesting.
one of his questions was like, "Well, what do you like better, Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks?" And I was like, "Well, I don't want to have to learn 3 different languages in order to order a drink, so I want Dunkin' Donuts every time." And he was like, "Well, what type of coffee do you drink?" I'm like, "Black with the Splenda." He was like, "Oh, you're a real coffee drinker. You aren't a make believe coffee drinker."
Make believe.
Yeah.
Well, touche. But there's always a Starbucks in all the cities I go to, so it's pretty consistent for me. That's the only reason why. I prefer that over Dunkin'. I actually really like Dunkin' Donuts. Their donuts are great. Always
Mhm.
have. I don't know if there were any other commercials that stood out to me besides like Paramount Plus had a really good one. Um, Pepsi tried. They were okay. I think the one that was the best. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Mm.
So I thought the best one was the Doritos commercial where they brought back the Breaking Bad cast. It was hilarious. But yeah, look up the Super Bowl 2023 commercials when we get off here if you're bored. It's
Okay.
it's worth a watch. Some of them are pretty fucking hilarious.
Yeah, fucking shit. But
Yeah,
yeah, I appreciate all the interaction, whatever little interaction we get.
for
I
sure,
love all the
for sure.
voices. So I appreciate it, man. We're still having fun. We're gonna keep doing
Oh, for
this.
sure.
Internet sleuths, shout out to
Oh
you.
yeah,
I love
trolls,
you.
we love you.
Come at
The
me.
more you comment and the more you watch and dislike and comment and make us feel bad, it's better for the algorithm. Bring it
Yeah, man.
on.
Like what's perfect is like these sleuths don't realize that
Sleuths.
the joke is watching it out of context. Like if you watch it out of context, it is funny and it doesn't make sense. That's also the point of bringing you in to watch it. So
That was
shout out
such
to
an
you.
evil like. Yeah, please.
I like it. I love it. I want some more.
Oh my goodness. There it
I
is.
forgot all about these things.
Oh no, my ears. Every time you do it, it's just like cringing. I should just take it out.
All right, buddy.
Cool. Well, yep. Follow us
Have
on social
fun,
media. Like stuff, share stuff. Please be our friends, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Later.
buddy.